Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, July 22nd, and time once again for the mailbag. I hope you guys have had a great week and a great weekend. Mine's been really good. Sorry for the skip week. Turns out, week before last for the mailbag was just straight up dead. But last week was pretty good, so we have a decent stack of new arrivals today to get through. Looks like lots of big books, so that's pretty exciting prospect. Not much in the way of announcements except for, of course, one big announcement, and this one's very exciting, and that is that in the month of September, I'm going to be hosting my very first readathon. And it's going to be a ton of fun, all kinds of challenges, achievements to unlock, things like that. Going to have a whole lot of fun with it. The formal announcement for this readathon will take place here on the channel on the morning of August the 1st. That's a week from Thursday, and I have been working on the announcement video for that. It's been a lot of fun, very exciting. It is going to be the first video that I have uploaded, or that I will be uploading to the channel, that will be one of these YouTube premieres, right, where you sort of like schedule it days in advance and a watch page is created and there's a countdown and everybody gets to watch it together. And there's actually like a live chat feature as if it were, you know, a live broadcast. So that's going to be very exciting. And I should have that up by either this time next week or like a week from Tuesday, a couple days in advance to get everybody ready for it. So yeah, keep your eye on that because it's going to make September a ton of fun if you are a fan of space opera. And I'll just leave you with that. So get ready for that. Otherwise, yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into these books and see what we have, shall we? And this first one is a nice big heavy box from Random Penguin. I'm going to sort of take a little guess in my head as to what this might be, because I think I know what this might be. And oh look, I was correct. This is Dark Age by Pierce Brown. This is the 5th in the Red Rising series, massively popular. I don't really think that I need to introduce it to you guys too much, as it were, but this comes out on July the 30th from Del Rey. This is a series I actually kind of need to get a little caught up with, to be honest with you. Let's see, what can I say? Well, I can tell you about the tour. Pierce Brown is going on a tour of this. It looks to be the usual East Coast, West Coast stops, except, well, let's see, he's going to be in Phoenix on the 1st, Denver on the 2nd, Austin on the 4th, at Book People, of course. He'll be in Orlando on the 5th, and then DC and New York on the 6th and 7th. We're starting out in LA, I guess the 29th, San Diego the 30th, and Seattle the 31st. All right then, so Dark Age by Pierce Brown in hardcover on July 30th from Del Rey Books. Next up, more Random Penguin. Okay, well this next one looks to be a YA. The author is Aaron A. Craig. It's called House of Salt and Sorrow, so it's another one of those YA noun of noun and noun titles. Just, but yeah, that's all right. Okay, August the 8th this comes out, and it is described as an atmospheric gothic fairy tale inspired by Grimm's 12 Dancing Princesses, in which the threat of death hangs at the end of every page. Oh my. Set in a sea-swept world full of malevolent gods, cursed masquerade balls, and handsome strangers, this haunting debut is sure to delight fans of Stephanie Garber's Caraval, a book that I don't think is all that widely liked, among people at least of my acquaintance. But anyway, Anna Lee lives a sheltered life at Highmoor, a manor by... You don't get much more gothic than that, do you? Highmoor, okay? A manor by the sea, with her sisters, their father, and their stepmother. Once they were 12... Oh, of course, once they were 12. Everyone's 12 at one point. I think they mean to say, once they were 12, but loneliness fills the grand halls now that 4 of the girls' lives have been cut short. Each death was more tragic than the one before. The plague, a plummeting fall, a drowning, a slippery plunge, and there are whispers throughout the surrounding villages that the family is cursed by the gods. Disturbed by a series of ghostly visions, Anna Lee becomes increasingly suspicious that the deaths were no accidents. Her sisters have been sneaking out every night to attend glittering balls, dancing until dawn in silk gowns and shimmering slippers, and Anna Lee isn't sure whether to try to stop them or join their forbidden trysts. Because who or what are they really dancing with? Ooh. When Annalee's involvement with a mysterious stranger who has secrets of his own intensifies, it's a race to unravel the darkness that has fallen over her family before it claims her next. House of Salt and Sorrows is a spellbinding novel of haunted houses and haunted minds that expands on classic Gothic themes to create a resonant drama of sisterhood, trust, and salvation in a multi-dimensional world. Oh, now that actually sounds like a pretty interesting combination of elements. It says it blends mythic and Gothic storytelling. Okay. This might be one I'd be actually interested in. But House of Salt and Sorrows comes out August the 6th in hardcover from Random Penguin. Okay, white envelope probably denotes a Macmillan title. This is a very exciting way to start the week. This is an arc for Supernova Era. The new science fiction novel by Lucy Jian, author of The Three-Body Problem. And let's see, this is coming out on October the 22nd from Tor. Yeah, very exciting. Goes like this. Another original gripping science fiction masterpiece from the author Barack Obama called Wildly Imaginative. Okay then. 8 light years away, a star has died, creating a supernova event that showers Earth with deadly levels of radiation. Within a year, everyone over the age of 13 will die. And so the countdown begins. Parents apprentice their children and try to pass on the knowledge they'll need to keep the world running. But the last generation may not want to carry on their parents' legacy, and though they imagine a better, brighter world, they may bring about a future so dark, humanity won't survive. Okay, sounds very cheerful, doesn't it? Good old optimistic science fiction. What can you say? All right then, but this will be out on October the 22nd, and yeah, well before then, I will have a review of this up as part of my Translation Tuesday series, okay? Supernova Era. And this one comes in from HarperCollins. Okay, this is interesting. This is a book called The Darwin Strain, and the authors are Bill Schutt and J.R. Finch. Just Schutt and Finch on the cover. See, this comes out August the 6th. And apparently this is, okay, it's described as an R.J. MacReady novel. I'm not kidding, no. If you're a fan of John Carpenter's The Thing, as people of taste and refinement are, yeah, then you will recognize the reference there. It's kind of on the nose, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun. This appears to be like the second or third in a series. This is one of those kind of SF-null, techno-thriller type in the Michael Crichton vein. Those kinds of books that usually get published and released as, you know, mainstream fiction rather than marketed as science fiction, even though they're clearly science fiction. It's that sort of thing. A Crichton-esque thriller, of course, meets an Indiana Jones adventure to produce a gripping brew of science history and suspense. Here, the authors elevate the reading experience by grounding speculation in real-world science and basing fiction on true historical events. Though the fighting has stopped and Hitler is vanquished, oh, okay, takes place in the past, a dangerous new war between America and the Soviet Union has begun. Invaluable in defeating the Nazis, accidental cryptozoologist R.J. MacReady and Yanni Thorne, an indigenous Brazilian and expert in animal behavior, are working for the Pentagon once again. Sent to a mysterious Greek island in a remote corner of the Mediterranean, they are investigating rumors about a volcanic spring with miraculous healing properties that the locals say is guarded by sea monsters from ancient legends. That sounds very Mediterranean. The islanders believe that the spring is a gift from God to the Greek Orthodox Church. Can't talk today. It's a sign of a deadly evil foretold in apocalyptic texts. Alongside French and Chinese researchers, men who share their strange blood-stained past, Mack and Yanni discover that the volcanic spring's undersea plumes release an exotic microbe that can transform life with astonishing speed. To find the source of the volcanic spring, Mack and Yanni must find a way to neutralize the Dragons of Revelation, a fearsome aquatic species also known as kraken, which are preventing the scientists from exploring deep beneath the sea's surface. Mutating at a remarkable pace, the kraken have evolved a chillingly high foreign intelligence. As the race to possess the miracle microbe heats up, tensions between geopolitical actors, religious leaders, and ordinary scientists confronted with the unknown escalate into chaos. Macchignani know all too well that one wrong choice can easily set in motion a biological chain reaction that will reach across the decades to enhance or destroy everything that lives. Fast-paced, full of twists and thrills, and rich with adventure and science, the Darwin strain will keep fans, as they say, on the edge of their seats. Okay. Could be, you know, cheesy fun. This sounds very much like a Netflix movie on paper, right? That kind of thing. But it will be out, as I've said, on August the 6th. And next up from Harper, here's one that I have actually really been looking forward to, and I think there's a very high likelihood you can see this as part of my 12 Days of Halloween celebration coming up in October. This is a book by John Horner Jacobs, whom I've met at ArmadilloCon, very nice fellow. It's called A Lush and Seething Hell, and it is described as two tales of cosmic horror. Let's see, bringing together his acclaimed novella, The Sea Dreams It Is the Sky, which I actually got last year, with an all-new short novella, My Heart Struck Sorrow, award-winning and critically acclaimed master of horror, John Horner Jacobs, turns his fertile imagination to the evil that breeds within the human soul in A Lush and Seething Hell, on sale from Harper Voyager on October the 8th. Blending the acute insight of Roberto Bolaño and the eerie imagination of H.P. Lovecraft, The Sea Dreams It Is the Sky examines life in a South American dictatorship. Centered on the journal of a poet in exile and his failed attempts at translating a maddening text, it is told by a young woman trying to come to grips with a country that nearly devoured itself. And let's see, so that one came out as an ebook last year. In My Heart Struck Sorrow, a librarian discovers a recording from the Deep South, which may be the musical stylings of the devil himself. Breathtaking and haunting, A Lush and Seething Hell is a terrifying and exhilarating journey into the darkness, an odyssey into the deepest reaches of ourselves that compels us to confront secrets best left hidden. Readers of horror and dark fantasy alike will be captivated by this stomach-churning thriller. Yeah, very, very happy to see this. And as I said, it will be out on October the 8th from Harper Voyager, A Lush and Seething Hell. Okay, and this one might also be HarperCollins. We'll see. Ooh, it wasn't. This is an Orbit arc. And, okay, this looks intriguing. This is an arc for a book called Ghoster. The author is Jason Arnott. Okay, and it says it comes out October the 22nd. And yeah, I'll be well into the 12 Days of Halloween at that point. And it says, from the author of The Chilling, Unpredictable, The Last Days of Jack Sparks, comes a new supernatural thriller in which a missing man leaves behind nothing except his possibly haunted smartphone. Kate was supposed to move in with her boyfriend of 3 months, Scott. Oh, if you're moving in after 3 months, that might be a little fast. Just saying. But when she turns up, she finds his apartment deserted, stripped of furniture, clothing, everything but his smartphone. Bitterly confused and angry, with nowhere else to go, she decides to stay, but strange numbers keep calling Scott's phone. Scratch marks keep appearing on the walls, and somehow posts are still showing up on Scott's social media account via the phone Kate has in her possession. Okay, and that's all it's telling me. Cool, okay. Well, you know me, love a good scare. We're getting closer to this time of the year, and I am now constantly having to reshuffle and rethink what I might be reviewing for October, because I've got something like 15 really cool horror books to choose from, and I have to like juggle, and it's a good problem to have, really. But anyway, Ghoster, available October the 22nd from Orbit. I mean, it seems gimmicky, but one of the very best short horror stories I've ever read was something by Joe Hill in an anthology a few years back, and it was told in a series of tweets. So, you know, kind of like a creepypasta almost, but it was amazingly effective for, you know, having that gimmick. So, yeah, technology it's not surprising that it's becoming a rich source of horror fiction. This is another Harper Voyager. And here it is. It's the finished copy of The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the sequel to The Poppy War, which, as most of you probably know by now, I have an unpopular opinion about that book. I was not a huge fan, at least not as much as many people, other people have been. I've actually had this as an e-arc for some time. But this comes out August the 6th from Harper Voyager. And I guess it is going to follow on from Rin's very dark and bloody adventures from that book. Yeah, I am going to read this very, very soon. I am, it's my responsibility as a reviewer to keep an open mind, even if I didn't like book 1 of something that has no bearing on what I'm going to think of book 2. And it's a lesson I've learned over many years. So, The Dragon Republic, out August the 6th from Harper Voyager. There's probably some people like, Thomas, what didn't you like about the Poppy War? Guys, the review is on the channel, okay? So go and check that out if you like. Another Random Penguin. Okay, it's very nice to have this. Vintage Books actually emailed me about this a few weeks back, because this has gotten to me kind of late. This has actually been out in stores since July the 2nd. And they were like, hey, you going to review this? And I'm like, yeah, I would, but I never got it. And they're like, oh, we're sorry, we'll get it to you. So very nice of them. Thank you very much, Vintage. This is the anthology, The Big Book of Classic Fantasy, edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. They have done a few anthologies of this sort before. They did a big, anthology of SF. And now here is one that contains stories by authors like Mary Shelley, Jules Verne, Oscar Wilde, Tolkien, G.K. Chesterton, Evelyn Nesbit, W.E.B. Du Bois, Franz Kafka, Vladimir Nabokov, Karl Čapek, and many, many more. So, I mean, it spans the history of this is really exciting. So, yeah, let's see just what all specifically. A lot of stuff that you might not traditionally think of as fantasy, coming from authors that you might not traditionally think are associated with that. But, yeah, there's some obvious choices, like the Facts in the Case of Monsieur Valdemar by Edgar Allan Poe. But there's also something called The Story of the Goblins Who Stole a Sexton by Charles Dickens. There's Rip Van Winkle, the original Rip Van Winkle from Washington Irving, of course. Mary Shelley's story is called Transformation. There's something called The Tartarus of Maids by Herman Melville. The Frost King or the Power of Love by Louisa May Alcott. Oh, and they've got Clark Ashton Smith in here, Fritz Lieber. Let's see. Gosh, wow, this is exciting. So it's a little primer of the history of early fantasy in short form that sort of led us to where we are today. I think this appears to be an essential book. The Book of Classic Fantasy, the Big Book, and it is big, available now, edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. Moving on down the list, here's a large box from Macmillan. Ah, interesting. So this is the arc for The Name of All Things, which is the second book in this very hyped epic fantasy series that Tor has been doing. This is the Chorus of Dragons series. I did not know that before. But the author is Jen Lyons. The first book was The Ruin of Kings, which came out in February. Appears to have gotten good reviews from the mainstream media, at any rate. And I have my copy in the other room just waiting for me. But now the second one will be available on October the 29th. So maybe I ought to just go ahead and dive in, since I now have the first two to check out. But like I said, the Chorus of Dragons series described as being very ambitious, an impressive and highly accomplished debut, says the LA Times, of The Ruin of Kings. Okay. Compared to the likes of Sanderson and Rothfuss, so if you like that sort of thing, it appears to be that kind of fantasy. And you either really like that kind of fantasy or you don't, in which case, don't worry about it. But yeah, Jen Lyons' series continues from Tor Books on the 29th of October. The Name of All Things. The End of All Things was the Scalzi novel. This is The Name of All Things. Here is something new, guys. This is, and it's a finished copy already as well, this is a book called Lies of Descent. The author is Troy Carroll Bucher, a new author to me, probably a debut. And let's see. Oh, he's a lieutenant colonel, served 30 years in the U.S. Army, where his assignment sent him to 3 wars in places like Turkey, Albania, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Germany, Kuwait, and Korea. Okay, so something tells me this is going to be a slightly military-themed epic fantasy. But it goes like this. Fans of gritty epic fantasy will be talking about Lies of Descent, the first book in a new trilogy from Troy Carroll Bucher. The Fallen Gods War trilogy follows 2 young people who must unite their violently divided cultures, the collateral damage of a battle between 2 fallen gods. Okay, the Fallen Gods' War drove the remnants of a victorious army across the ocean in search of a new homeland. 1,000 years later, the lifeless continent of Dragora is largely forgotten, a symbol for the regiments that remain. Demons to some, protectors to others, the power of their god-touched blades has forged a nation, though many resent their absolute control. Riam and Nola are unknowing descendants of the old world. When it's discovered they carry enough Dragoran blood to serve in the regiments, they are dragged away from their families to begin training. If they survive, they will be expected to enforce the laws of the Covenant, to fight the Ashari tribesmen who raid along the border, and to be judge, jury, and executioners for those accused of crimes. For Riam, who welcomes his escape from an abusive father, the power to protect those who cannot defend themselves is alluring. For Nola, who wishes to return home, it is a betrayal by all she holds dear. Neither is given a choice, and neither may even get the chance to serve. Lies of Descent begins an epic trilogy of fallen gods, betrayal, and magic, where dark motives often dwell within the true and just, and where the things most feared sometimes lead to salvation. Okay, this sounds like it could be kind of exciting. And it is available August the 20th in hardcover from Daw Books, so let me know in the comments. And the final envelope today is a white envelope from the Macmillan Company. Oh well, the gritty epic fantasy continues. This is an arc from Tor. It has one of these covers where they just put the tagline on the cover, but the title of the book is Fate of the Fallen, and the author is Kel Cade, who is a Texas writer, and apparently has, apparently he has a good history as a self-published writer. Goes, not all stories have happy endings. Everyone loves Matthias. Naturally, when he discovers it's his destiny to save the world, he dives in head first, pulling his best friend Oslo along for the ride. However, saving the world isn't as easy or exciting as it sounds in the stories. The going gets rough, and folks start to believe their best chance for survival is to surrender to the forces of evil, which isn't how the prophecy goes at all. Now, Oslo must find a way forward on his own. As hope dims, Oslo and his anti-fellowship of miscreants must try to save the world, or at least survive until tomorrow. Okay. This is coming out November the 5th from Tor Books. Appears to sort of, tweak a lot of the tropes of epic fantasy. Sounds like it's got, a bit of a Nicholas Eames maybe influenced, humorous spin on things. But Fate of the Fallen. For men to rise, heroes must fall. As I said, November the 5th from Tor. And there you have it. That's what we've got for this week in the mailbag. So you guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please sub if you have not done so. That is how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits in the Winx Army get little perks like getting to see some of these videos early. I want to thank all of those folks, those wonderful people, for their additional support. It is very, very helpful in keeping the wheels greased on the channel. I want to thank all the rest of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube. Do not forget, August the 1st, I will be announcing my big readathon for September. Be ready for that. Make room in your schedule. And until I see all of you next time, happy reading.